Welcome, team, to NIL Office Hours. We're in week 5 here, and we're going to get you right up to speed on where we left off last week, and we'll just get in and get out. What we're talking about here is NIL Office Hours Week 5, every Tuesday at noon for 30 minutes, real topics, real answers. Week 1, just kind of give you a little brief, was NIL 101, what it actually is. Week 2 was compliance. Week 3 is contracts. Week 4, that ugly word, taxes. And today we're going to get into social media, where we're kind of bringing it all into one big package with a nice pink bow. Here's the bridge in today. Every week we're talked about owning something, owning your eligibility, owning every word you've signed, owning every dollar you've earned. Today, own every post, because social media is where most athletes think NIL starts, and that's not the case. And it's where most NIL mistakes begin. Coach, before we get into the slides, one question to set the table. Why is social media the most under or misunderstood part of NIL for most athletes?
I think because, for me, I think what kids and what parents and coaches don't understand is that social media isn't where you share your life when
Right.
it comes to NIL and revenue sharing. It's where the world decides whether they want to do business with you.
That's right.
And that's why it's so important on, whether you realize it or not, the social media has become your digital resume.
Mm-hmm.
And so how you present yourself out there, and that's why I tell kids all the time, the world tells you they want to hear your views on things. The world doesn't sign your paycheck.
Right.
You have to make it sure that you're making a conscious decision that everything that you post, okay, is up to snuff on what your brand is looking for and how it defines you, how the sponsors that you do business with doesn't mesh with their corporate beliefs. Because at the end of the day, again, the world doesn't sign your paycheck. So I tell kids all the time, be very, very careful about your political views on social media when it comes to your business dealings. Okay. And that's just the way of the world. Okay. And so, because it is your digital resume.
100%, 100%. So before we dig into this, I want to take an opportunity. Team, while you're watching this, you're probably wondering what makes Aaron Thomas and Coach so credible. And what attracted me to Coach was the fact that he has a deep history in being a football coach. Some of my best mentors have always been coaches. Coach, tell the audience a little bit about yourself and where you're working now and what brings you into this space from coaching.
Yeah, retired athletic administrator, school administrator, and head football coach for 30 years. Coached at the professional, college, and high school levels. Loved every moment of it, but it was time after 30 years to take on a new challenge and go in a new direction. But I wanted to stay involved with helping my fellow coaches and also still helping kids. And so I partner up with Capital Wealth Strategies out of Austin, Texas, where I focus on NIL and revenue sharing, doing financial literacy for student athletes and their families, showing them the ins and outs of what they need to be looking for before they sign that NIL deal. I do not negotiate contracts. I don't recruit players or anything like that. I'm not an agent. And I also help coaches and educators with their retirement and making sure that they're getting taken care of, because having been in that chair for a long time, coaches, there's not a lot of people trying to take care of coaches.
Right.
So I want to make sure that there's somebody out there who's an advocate for them that's in their, that's sitting beside them on making sure that they're getting taken care of from a retirement standpoint.
Love it. Love it. Team, you know enough about Aaron and myself, and you can find us at blueprintbluechip.com. But one of the reasons why we love partnering with Coach is because from his resume, you can see he very generally cares about not just the athletes, but their families. And the final two things that we always share with an athlete or a family, whether you work with us or not, we want to make sure you're well informed to make an educated decision. And also we want you to be proactive as opposed to reactive. So let's get back into the NIL space, because one of the things that I was always told coming up as far as your posts go is make sure you entertain, educate, and inform. The landscape has changed a little bit, and we know what is currency is when somebody likes your post, they comment on your post, and they share. But the three functions have changed a little bit. One, it's attract, execute, and protect. Most athletes only think about attracting. Coach, walk us through the three functions and tell us which one athletes ignore the most and what it could cost them.
When it comes to attract, first of all, when we talk about attract, this is where you create content that reflects who you are. Okay. Share training, competition, academics, community service, leadership, behind the scenes moments, family, if you're comfortable with that, and personal growth.
Right.
The next piece is execute, the execution part. If you enter into an NIL agreement, you're meeting deadlines, you follow contract requirements, you post professionally, you communicate well, and you deliver what you promised. And the last area is protect. You protect your reputation, eligibility, relationships, future opportunities. Think before every post. And I think the area that I think is most common that gets overlooked and taken for granted is the protect piece.
Right.
Okay. In my mind, it's not so much about, protecting their reputation, but it's understanding that the things that they post and how it can affect their reputation. They don't understand that the things that they post can affect their eligibility.
That's right.
The relationships, future opportunities, because we live in a society, what I call a fast food society. You no longer go to a fast food restaurant and you order a hamburger, a medium fry, and a large drink. Instead, you order a number one.
Right.
And so they're in this tunnel of short-term thinking. And so it's a here now approach to life. And those are the things that where I think the protect portion of social media gets overlooked the most.
100%. And team, I can speak from experience. And what I mean by that is I literally have made a few comments on political landscape things that has nothing to do with sports. And Erin actually has to reel me in a little bit. She's like, Thomas, you got to stay away from the political comments. It's not even something that I post. It's just something that I don't align with politically. And I have to reel that in because right now my brand is Blueprint to Blue Chip. And I have a business colleague in Erin that I have to be cognizant of. Question 2, Coach, brands evaluate athletes on social media before they ever reach out. What are they actually looking at and what happens behind the scenes that athletes aren't aware of?
I think, for when it comes to building your brand, what brands are looking for is authenticity, consistency, professionalism, positive engagement, leadership, community involvement, strong communication, a positive reputation. Your follower count matters, but trust matters even more. Those are the areas that brands are looking for and when they're looking for athletes who can represent them.
Sure. No question. Erin, let's get you into the fold because you're talking too much. Territory of a clout. Most athletes are building their social media around clout, followers, engagements, and deals. What does this principle mean for how athletes actually build their social presence?
I think it kind of, I want to piggyback a little bit on what John said, but what I'm going to piggyback. I think you want to be authentic. And why you want to be authentic is because you want to build trust. We are in what I term and call a trust recession. Right. People want to know that what you are saying is value add and is coming from you, not performative, not salesy, none of that stuff. So you have to make sure that whatever you choose to align with and represent comes truly from you, not, yes, I get there's money exchanged. Yes, I get there's stuff going on. But at the end of the day, you want it to be like this is an extension of you. So if you love cinnamon crest toothpaste, like that would be a natural thing to showcase every morning because it's something you already use. So think about those things when you're seeking out opportunity, not just the name brand of something, but do they represent your values? Because the company is looking to make sure that you're representing theirs as well.
Absolutely. And Thomas, I'm going to piggyback on Erin now.
Okay.
When it comes back to, building the personal brand. Because the biggest thing is what I try to get kids to understand and get even parents to understand is your brand isn't your logo.
Right.
Your brand isn't your follower count. Your brand is your reputation. Okay. And so I tell kids all the time, ask yourself this: what do you think when what do people think when they hear your name?
Right.
What values do you represent? And would someone trust you to represent their company? The goal isn't to become famous. The goal is to become trustworthy when it comes to brand.
Agreed.
And so those are the things that are extremely important.
Right on. So true. So let's get into the FTC disclosure, school policies, and what's reportable. Coach, FTC disclosure, what does it actually require, and what does proper disclosure look like versus what most athletes think is good enough?
Yeah, and so FTC, basically, when you're compensated to promote a brand, transparency matters. Okay, so if there's a material connection such as payment, free products, discounts, affiliate commissions, or another benefit, you should clearly disclose it. Okay, so examples like when you get something like you get a free meal. Okay, simply putting hashtag ad, hashtag sponsored, hashtag paid partnership. Disclosure should be easy to notice and understand because transparency builds trust.
Sure.
And so it's extremely important that when you do post something about, hey, thank you, so-and-so restaurant for the incredible meal today, hashtag sponsor.
Right.
Just little things like that.
Gotcha. And walk me through what actually counts as reportable social media, NIL, because I know athletes assume if they weren't paid cash, it doesn't count.
Yeah. So, like you said, many athletes think compensation only means cash, which is simply not true. Compensation obviously includes money, free products, free meals, free travel, tickets to events. If I get a concert tickets or Super Bowl tickets, clothing, equipment, discounts, affiliate commissions. If something of value is exchanged for promotion, understand your reporting and disclosure responsibilities. It's on you, not your agent, not your parents. It is on you as the athlete.
100% every time. Aaron, accountability over excuses in the compliance context, because I didn't know I had to disclose that, is a sentence that costs athletes everything.
Yep, I didn't know was not an accountability statement at all. You have to be aware. If you want to play in this landscape, you need to know what the rules of the road are, and you need to decide if those are things you want to agree to and be a part of before you engage in this. And so I think making sure you fully understand and know your responsibilities, and then you have to follow through and execute on those. And if you don't know, you got to ask a lot of questions so that you are aware of what you will be held accountable for.
For sure. Now let's get into your contract lives in every post. Coach, what do most athletes miss in social media deliverables section in their NIL contracts? Give me one that costs them the most.
Biggest thing is, like school logos, uniforms, trademarks, those sorts of things. One of the biggest questions that athletes ask is, can I use my school logo or uniform in sponsored content? Okay. Those things are important for them to understand the contractual purpose of what they're doing. The answer depends on your school's policies and licensing rules, especially if you're in at a major Division I. You got to make sure that conference rules apply, university rules apply, because many schools restrict commercial use of school logos, team uniforms, athletic facilities, trademarks. Always check with your compliance office before using school intellectual property in NIL content. Another area is music and copyright.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Using copyrighted music in commercial or sponsored content may create copyright issues. So just because music is available on a social media platform doesn't automatically mean it can be used in branded content. Understand platform rules and brand expectations, because you can get blocked. Your social media can get blocked. That's the last thing that you want to do as someone who's using social media as a brand, is to get kicked off that platform because you're using copyrighted material, in an unauthorized manner.
Sure.
Okay, so make sure you understand the platform rules and brand expectations. And I tell kids all the time, to kind of use what I call a social media audit. Okay, and so ask yourself, would I be proud if ESPN showed this?
Right.
Would I be proud if my coach saw this? Would I be proud if my parents saw this?
Sure.
Would I be proud if my future employer saw this? And then would I post this if I knew it would never disappear?
Right.
If the answer is no to any of that, don't post it.
Great advice. Great advice. Exclusivity and casual posts, because I don't think athletes realize their exclusive clauses follow them into the photo that they post without even thinking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. They don't. I mean,
Right.
and that's the thing that, people that you have to understand. It's like Aaron, you talked about, said, not knowing the answer or using ignorance is not an excuse.
Sure.
You're in a business now. It's a business. And you got to know the rules of the business that you're doing.
100%. Aaron, talk to us about integrity over image. This is the caddy framework, the blueprint. Integrity over image and contract execution, because this is about more than the legal obligation.
Well, I think when you think about who are you, what's the forward face that you want to put forward? Are you putting your best work into what these companies are asking you to execute? So thinking about stuff last minute, knowing you have to deliver X number of posts, like you should be planning this out. What are you going to be posting? What's that messaging look like? That's some stuff you could even get cleared with compliance offices and stuff like that. If you need help with that, planning ahead so that you aren't last minute scrambling and then falling short on what you're supposed to execute. And ultimately, brands are watching. You can tell when somebody is thoughtfully curated what they're putting out there in order to reflect the deal that they have. And so again, making sure that everything that you do reflects you. And if it's a shortcut, sloppy, I would not recommend posting it. So plan your time accordingly based on your deals so that you can fulfill those in a way that you would be proud, to John's point, would represent you over time, all the time. And you wouldn't look back going, God, I wish I wouldn't have posted that one.
Right. So brands are going to do their due diligence. They do a brand audit, the old content audit. Coach, brands run social media audits before signing athletes. What are they actually looking for, and how far back do they go?
They go back. They'll go back as far as the beginning of of when you start. And what they're looking for is your engagement level. They're looking at your controversy level. Are you posting inappropriate things? Hate speech, racially motivated things, politically motivated things. Do you have music on there that's suggestive in some form or fashion? They're looking for character. They want to see what type of character that you have, because you are representing their brand.
Sure.
And so what type of person do we want to have representing us if this person is posting inflammatory and sensitive things on their social media platforms? Do I want that part of my company? And so those things matter. And so they go back through and they have an entire division in their company that does nothing but comb through social media. And so you have to make sure that those things that you have posted in the past, that's the one thing about today's world. It never goes away. And so you got to make sure that you're being very diligent in the things that you post.
Yep. And the old content audit. What should an athlete actually do with their social media history before they actively pursue NIL?
The big thing is just, again, going back through and asking yourself the question: is this appropriate? Is this something that a company wants to have be represented? Am I the type of person that this company is proud to be part of and partnering with to represent their brand? And so those are the things, is going back through and make sure that the things that you have on there. Again, it's all about professionalism, leadership, good decision making, respect, accountability. Those are the areas that you want to have, and making sure that are on your social media, that those things are above reproach and cannot be questioned.
Right. Aaron, as we wrap up the CADI framework, integrity over image, because this is exactly where those two things diverge most visibly for athletes.
Yeah, I mean, integrity over image, I think, is the one principle that we teach and coach that's most directly tested by social media. And image is, where you feel like they have the curated reels and highlight reels and all the things that look flashy and fun. But, integrity is about who you are all the time. It's not performative. And so would your off-brand moments match your on-brand moments? And you need to be the same person. And that's going to save you a lot of headaches in life, period, because then you're never going to have some crisis moment because you're always just being who you are. Let's say you wanted to go live and maybe share something. It would be the same person that they've been seeing throughout all your posts. It would be congruent. You wouldn't have to be curating it in order to put it out. And so first and foremost, I think before you enter, my last piece of advice, before you enter any deals, is you need to figure out who you are, what your values are, what's important to you, and how would you showcase that to the world 24/7 and it not feel like it was a job.
Gotcha.
100% on that, Eric. I mean, and Thomas and Aaron, I think one of the things that I learned after 30 years in education and coaching is that talent gets attention, but character earns opportunities. And so the athletes who consistently make good decisions on the field and online often become the athletes people want to invest in. And so their social media, athletes, please understand, is your social media should reflect the same discipline you demonstrate in practice and on the field. Because your character is always being evaluated. And so my challenge to athletes out there is this week, I challenge you to do a complete overhaul and audit of your social media. Review your last 100 posts. Ask yourself, does this represent who I am today?
Right.
Would a Fortune 500 company want me representing their brand? Would I be proud if my grandparents saw every post? Would I hire me? If not, start making changes today.
Sure. Authenticity converts, performance cracks. 7 questions before every post. Let's close it out. Coach, which questions do athletes skip most often, and what does skipping usually cost them?
I think the biggest thing that is the areas that athletes, I think, overlook and stop out is what can I post and what can I not post, and what are my disclosure what are my disclosure rules? I think those are the areas that get overlooked. They get taken for granted. The athletes think that they can just post whatever they want to and not understand the ramifications of that post. And then when they do have an opportunity with a sponsor or a brand, is making sure that their FTC is being done correctly.
Gotcha. Aaron, question 7 on the checklist. Does this content align with who I actually am? What does that question, or why does that question belong on this compliant checklist? You're on mute. You're frozen.
There she goes.
Frozen. Here we go. Sorry, guys. I was completely frozen. So I sincerely apologize. Would you mind asking me that question one more time?
Why is the alphabet in that order? No, I'm kidding.
Well, it goes A to Z. I don't know why.
It must be because of the song. Question 7 on the checklist. Does the content align with who I actually am? And why does the question belong on a compliance checklist?
because I think, again, who are you at the core is more important than anything else. So knowing who you are, what your values are, what you want to share into the world, what impact you want to have. If you're doing something that does not align with that, don't post it. Like,
Right.
let it sit in the parking lot over there. You always say this, you can't have one platform either that looks like I'm a business professional and then the other looks like, I'm hanging out at the beach drinking Coronas all day. Your image has to match in all places. And I'm not saying don't go have fun. You just have to make sure that whatever you're choosing to do, that you would be proud to have that put out. And you may not even want it put out. The other thing that we haven't really touched on today is who else are you around and what else could they be putting out that could negatively impact you. So if you don't want people thinking you're a party girl, I'm just using girls right now for as an example, then you might not want to be going to parties.
Right.
Because people have phones, people can post stuff. And so it may not even be what you're putting out. So you have to be thinking about that stuff all the time.
Absolutely. As a sports performance coach here with Blueprint to Blue Chip, one of the things I've actually worked with high school water polo athletes that are under the age of 18. And I've actually said to them, hey guys, listen, my account is open. You can see what I'm doing. I am not going to follow you. And I'm certainly not going to like a photo with, 12, 14-year-old boys in Speedos. That just doesn't look good for me. So you got to be really cognizant of what you're doing and who you're right and who you're hanging around with. Because, one of the things, just a rule of thumb that I try to tell my athletes is, be mindful of the three P's. I know this is going to sound funny, but porn, politics, and purpose. Meaning, when I say porn, obviously stay away from that. But if you're a Division I, Division II athlete with a good big following and you have bikini shots of you down in Mexico, probably not good for your brand. Politics, stay away from it. If you want to have closed door conversations about it, I respect that. Or just give us a call and post with purpose. Before we wrap up, we have a little time. We've got started a little late. I'm going to get into the first question here for you, Coach. I tagged a brand in a post last month because I genuinely like their product. No deal, no payment, nothing. Do I have to report that, and could it affect my ability to work for a competitor brand later?
I mean, if you tagged a brand but you received nothing for it, you're fine.
Got it.
Because there's like I tag, I'll tag Adidas stuff or whatever. I'm not working for them, and I don't get any benefit for them. You can still like things. I mean, you can still like Nike or Adidas or Under Armour or whatever.
Sure.
And there be no, exchanging of services or products or any benefits whatsoever. So you're fine when you do stuff like that. It's when there's an exchange of services, a product or whatever, or you get a free meal, that sort of stuff, you have to be aware of.
Sure. My contract requires the brand to approve my content before I post, but they never respond in time. I've missed 2 posting windows because of their slow approval process. Who's responsible for that? Well, that's a great question.
Yeah, honestly, it's on the brand.
There's
they have a team in place that's supposed to get that done. If you have representation, get with your representation, have them get onto them immediately, because you're missing out opportunities. You're fulfilling your side of the agreement, but they're not fulfilling theirs. And if that continues, maybe that's something you need to reevaluate in regards to contract and the stipulations, because obviously the brand that you're representing is not following through on their contract.
Absolutely. Team, the questions keep coming through. We want to be respectful of Coach's time and your time. Coach, where can people get a hold of you if they want to reach out, whether that's a website, social media handles, or an email?
Yeah. So website, www.cwsplanning.com. It's Capital Wealth Strategies. And you can also email me at my first and last name, john.bronkhorst@cwsplanning.com. I'm on LinkedIn under John Bronkhorst. I'm on Twitter @CoachBronk. Again, I say this every week. If you have any questions, any concerns, If you need help with financial literacy on the things to look for, do not hesitate to reach out to me. We'll set up a Zoom and we'll walk through the steps on things that you need to be looking out for to protect you and make sure that your income's getting protected, short-term and long-term.
Love it. Perfect. Team, you can always keep those questions coming. We will always forward those off if you missed any of this information, but you can always tune in every week with us at this same time, noon Mountain Time. Own every post the same way you own every contract and every dollar. Disclose, report, approve each document. And before you post, ask, does this build or damage the image that or the brand that I'm building? Integrity over image every time, starting with the next post you make. So go ahead and download the checklist that we have here. It's in the chat right now, 7 questions. Print it, put it on your phone, and use it every time. Next week, we're going to get into, which will be week 6, collectives. What are they, how they work, what athletes need to know before they engage. Register in the chat right now, and we'll see you next week. Have a fantastic week. Make it productive. Coach, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to meet with us and our audience to share your insight. Aaron, and thank you so much for making this possible. You're a magician with pulling this off every week, and I really appreciate it, and so does our audience. Have a fantastic week, team.